Good morning, everybody. I'm starting a couple of minutes early, so sorry for those that are tuning in at exactly 9 o'clock. The reason I'm starting early is because there will be a new rollover for positions in exactly 2 minutes, and we'll lose the leaderboard placings at the moment. Now, if you look at the leaderboard, obviously Simon's first, he's on his way through, but Kirsten is coming second. Distance to the finish is 19214 nautical miles. She's doing 4.5 knots. You look at Tapio, distance to the finish, 19214 nautical miles, doing exactly 4.5 knots. So they're identical. They're on top of each other, distance to the finish, back in Les Sables-d'Olonne, not to Cape Town, obviously, but it's amazing. And for some reason, Kirsten's still showing second, whereas really they would be equal seconds at the moment, definition to the finish line, and they were probably using average speed. Well, who knows why they've left it like that? Probably because Kirsten was second before, and now just Tapio's come in and got the same one. So so I started a little bit early because that'll change in a minute, and we're not sure what it'll be, but they're certainly having quite a race. I don't know whether they know it. In fact, they probably don't even know it because Tapio would know Kirsten's down there somewhere. Kirsten probably has no idea where Tapio is, but that's life. So kind of fun for us to watch. So I can slow down a bit now. I was thinking, that's going to lose it. And I thought, hang on, I can start early. So morning, it's, hang on, I'll give you there we go, 10 o'clock. So if everyone's just logging on now, you might have noticed you'll have to play the replay because I just brought up something interesting about Kirsten and Tommy. No, not Tommy, Kirsten and Tapio. Right. So we'll get that out of the way. Well, it's still there. Okay, I'm not sure when it'll chop over. But Kirsten and Tapio are identical on the leaderboard. Exactly the same distance to the finish. I don't want to repeat it because that's there, but it's worth a look. Okay, so quite amazing. Okay, so let's carry on now. We'll come to the back of the fleet first, just to give you an update of what's going on here. Pretty much as we predicted yesterday. So Haley's rocketing along. Coming down as our benchmarker. Nord still drifting along in this patch of very low wind, 2.7 knots. He's only travelled 51 miles in the last 24 hours, and it's sort of going in funny directions to keep the breeze. Remembering that the actual weather he's getting may not look like this. It may be similar, of course, but not. When it's no wind gradient into more wind, it's hard to be specific. Guy, the back end here, again 3 knots. He's getting less wind than it's showing here. There is a light patch there. Ian Herbert Jones trundling along 3.6 knots down here, but he's in a pretty good position. He's heading down, which is a good thing. That'll work in his favour later on. Northeast, not so good. He'd be very frustrated because I know he's aware of the gate in Hobart, and he doesn't want to be going slow at the moment. Elliot, good breeze, 5.8, on track, heading out to the east, so that's kind of cool. I'll get onto the middle of fleet and Jeremy and so on in a minute. In fact, Jeremy's got a bit of breeze there. 5.8, we'll talk about that in a minute. So we'll just have a look at this back end for the next couple of days. Go forward a day. Here we go, on the 8th. Nord still heading into a light wind patch, not good for him. Guy should start moving a bit better. And Ian Herbert Jones will all of a sudden roll over. He's got following breezes at the moment, but if he crosses over, when he crosses over this band of no wind, he'll come into an easterly breeze, and he'll probably start heading south again. When he gets that. And the second day, Elliot here, plenty of breeze, but not. Well, I shouldn't say that. If he keeps going to the east, same wind direction from the south, but it's getting lighter. You can see here he'll be over in this position, so he'll slow down if he holds that course, and he probably will. We'll go forward to the 10th, this time in 2 days' time. Elliot will be up here somewhere, still light winds, frustrating for him. Ian Herbert Jones, he will dip down a little bit in that bit I mentioned, and then he'll be over here, southerly winds, so he'll start heading out to the east. But then there's a low pressure, a little weak low pressure forming right in front of him. Nord is still in a band of very light winds, so probably only doing 3s and 4s. He'll be over here somewhere, so he'll be pulling his hair out. And Guy will be down here. Whatever wind he gets, it's coming from the southeast, so he'll possibly go to the east. He may go south, he may cut back this way. So a bit of frustration back there for the rest of them. So anyway, back to middle of the fleet. we'll talk about this one. Now, Jeremy's got a bit of breeze there by the look of it. He is moving pretty quick. It's on the quarter, 5.8 knots, so it's coming on his starboard quarter. And in the last 24 hours, he's done 125 miles, which is not too bad. The entrance down the back here are having a chat on the radio and talking about what they're doing, because there's a bit of worry certainly for Ian and the others, even for the Hobart Gate, and they're thinking, do we want to chuck it all away and not go to Cape Town or whatever and keep going? If that was the case, they'd move into Chichester class. And even there was, I shouldn't talk about it because it was coming second hand from another entrant, but Jeremy's got a plan of where he wants to go to address his barnacles, and then to do that he'll have to come back to Cape Town or whatever. So we'll see, but I'm sure he's going to come in Cape Town because he's got lots of friends here. Ayrton doing 4.8 knots, quite happy in the world right now. Everything seems to be working for him. And Captain Goog slowed down. Now this one's a bit strange. I don't know what's going on here, because it's suggesting there's a solid breeze there, and he's only doing 3.7 knots. Interesting. He dropped down a bit last night. Maybe he's not getting the breeze. Maybe this is like it's not really as if there's going to be a hard front there. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know why he's doing 3.4. But anyway, I'm sure everything is all okay, but keep an eye on the tweets. Speed for Damien, 6.5. Happy chappy, he can't complain about that. Probably got Spinnakers up, dead behind him, it looks like. I should make this a bit bigger now so you can see it better. That's a bit better. Sorry about that. Looks like he's got a good, steady 15, 20 knot breeze behind him. Spinnakers up probably 6.5 knots. Abelish 5.1, he's heading up, so he's in lighter area, and you can see this has moved up over in the last 4 hours as well, so he may have had lighter winds. He's having to tack down wind or something, keep the pressure on the sails, so he's heading up. Also, of course, they're heading for Cape Town soon. Here's Cape Town, there's the course, so he's doing 5.1, and I'll keep Pat for the lead bunch because he'll be the next ones in. So what's happening for the back end weather? We come forward to tomorrow, 24 hours later. Ayrton's going to be getting light breezes. Goog in here, southerly breezes, changing, solid or a little bit of east in it, so it's southeasterly. Quite cool for going up to Cape Town, and they've all got wind here, so they're going to be moving pretty well. Same with Pat. Okay, so that's all looking good. So that's one day. We'll go to the second day. Is it 10th? It's 3 o'clock in the morning. And okay, so that's 10 o'clock in the morning. I think this is 2 days ahead, so Captain Goog should be up here, but it's starting to swing around to the southeasterly. Now this is where you're going to get now, it looks like, some solid southeasterlies, which is the traditional one. So coming from here is sort of just okay, but you can see they're going to be, to go from a position here to Cape Town, it's well forward of the beam. It's going to be hard on for some of them, especially if this swings a bit more. As they get closer, you can see it's coming around to the east-southeast rather than just a southeasterly. So it can be quite hard work, the last bit. And certainly back here at the back of the fleet, holy dooly, Ayrton will be up here. He should be okay, and the other guys are going to deal with that as they go. So a bit of fun. So now we'll cut back to today's weather. I'll blow it up a bit so we can get a good look, and we'll talk about first of all, we'll talk about Tapio and Kirsten, because it's quite uncanny. They're right on top of each other. You may have seen before we get there, you may have seen I'll just go back one, the post I made about the current. I couldn't work out why Kirsten had all of a sudden decided to dive off to the east, and I'm still not sure. She may have had her tactical reasons for that in terms of keeping pressure on the sails, tacking down wind and so on. But if I go on to currents, it's hard to see her course. It comes up here and she's going straight for Cape Town, and then all of a sudden she goes boom across here, dropped right down in the course, and then boom, she's literally heading out to the east, going away from it. Now these current, this is the current spinning around here, and if you look at the speed gradient on the bottom of the graphic down here, when it's these sort of purpley colours, it's sort of like 1.5 knots, bordering into, it's a good solid 1.5 knots, climbing towards 2 knots of current. Okay, it's a bit like forecasting the wind. You get in the real world, you get more than they're showing on the graphic. These blue areas are absolutely into the 2 knot range, and the position is often the position of this current is not determined by floating buoys. It's determined by sea surface temperature. Right, they can determine that from satellites as well. Okay, so there's a satellite input to the overall computer programming. So they're using satellite data, floating, drifting buoys for all sorts of information. And so they're usually reasonably accurate, but they can still be a bit out. And I was wondering, when she dipped down, if she's sailing along, you've got to imagine this, the sails are in the same position, the apparent wind is in the same position, all that sort of stuff. And then all of a sudden, so she thinks she's sailing perfectly normal. The apparent wind doesn't change, nothing like that. The boat just gets hit by current, slows down and starts to drift sideways. So when you're on the boat, nothing changes. It's just that the position of the boat over the ground, the speed of the boat over the ground, completely changes. So you can be sitting there under wind vane, thinking you're doing perfectly all right, and you're pointing in the right direction. The compass course is saying that you're going to Cape Town, right? But the boat's going sideways, getting pushed down, slowed down over the ground, not through the water, okay, and in your course, but not as you see it in the compass, because the boat's still facing in the right direction. I don't know whether that makes sense, but that's what currents do to you. And unless you've got a GPS to see your speed and course over the ground, if you're just looking at the water, you don't even notice it. So I'm looking forward to asking Kirsten the question down here, whether she altered course because of the sort of tacking downwind or jibing downwind, okay, or whether she had no idea and all of a sudden she realised, holy dooly, boom, and then all of a sudden she altered course and she's now on her way to Cape Town. So that's going to be kind of fun to see exactly what happened. So coming back to the wind, and we'll now we'll get rid of this. We'll look at, and I'll blow it up a bit here. Get that down here again. Oh, sorry, I'm fluffing around. My mouse is slipping on the breakfast bar here. Okay, now put that up. Boom, boom. Pull it down here, and we'll go up another one. I think it'll still show okay. Yes. Okay, so here's the picture coming into Cape Town. This is the weather we've got at the moment, which is not strong. You can see Tapio has now sort of stopped. Okay, he's 0.9 knots, and Kirsten has still going at 2.9 knots. At 6 o'clock this morning, they were doing 4.5, but there was a soft patch of wind. The good news is, this is what we should be getting. If I now animate the breeze first, you'll see every hour, you'll see the green start to come in. Okay, boom, boom, you see it straight up. So the wind's picking up probably 8, 9, 10 knots, and that's by 5 o'clock this afternoon. But it's still very fluky, right? It is exactly what's happening. That's 5 o'clock this afternoon.